Hello, everyone. Back again, Mr. Jimmy Palmiotti. Jimmy, thank you so much for being with us again, man.
My pleasure.
This run of getting you on for Deadly Tales, and now you got so many titles. I don't even know what we should cover today, but it's incredible, man.
It definitely appears that way, but they're all limited series, so everything comes to an end.
Well, we need a reboot of Jonah Hex in DC for sure. So I don't know anybody at DC, but I wish I did.
I do bring it up once in a while to them, and they're not interested. Maybe the new company, Netflix or Paramount, whoever takes them over, might have a better chance. My attitude on that is like Paramount and or Netflix.
Yeah.
I would think right away they just grab Jonah Hex and make a series. I mean, because how Warner Brothers hasn't done it, how they sat on that property. That not great movie was made, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe, I'm like, man, don't live and die by that. Look at that garbage Green Lantern movie. I mean, that's not stopping them. They're not stopping them from making a new Green Lantern series, but you never know. I think if you're alive long enough, eventually everything comes back.
Yeah, Jonah would have been perfect for an HBO show. Like, feels primed for that.
Yeah, I would even go as far as telling the guys, we have like 70 done-in-one scripts that you can literally make into episodes of the show. Just take the comics and use them as a blueprint. And realistically, screenplays are easy to write at that point when you have that much info. It's funny, when I went to the Jonah Hex set with Justin many years ago, all the guys on the set had the comics. Like, when they knew we were coming, so we signed a bunch of comics. But I asked them, I'm like, why aren't you using these for reference for the actual story? I'm like, I don't get it. And they're like, it's out of our hands that somebody up at Warner Brothers decided that making him a zombie guy and all that garbage that went on in that film. Somebody up there at Warner Brothers decided that was the way to go. And I'm just like, yeah, well, obviously they were happy. The comics were doing great, but obviously sometimes you need to read the comic instead of just looking at the covers,
I do want to say congratulations, because they did, even though it's All-Star, they did get the collected omnibus. Dylan has it right behind him. He's pretty strong, so he's able to lift it. There you go. I ordered mine.
I do have the open invite that anybody brings it to a con is going to get a sketch right here.
Ooh.
So you got to bring it. You got to bring it to the show. I can't hold your hand, but anybody who brings it, I have pens I'm bringing because of it. Unfortunately, the inside cover is a dark page. I was kind of bummed because I was like hoping it would be white.
Yeah.
But I got some pens that I can draw on, and I'll do the best I can.
I did get one from you when I met you at MegaCon years ago on No Way Back.
Oh, there you go. That's it. Yeah, that's a pretty good one too, man.
Yeah, that one looks amazing. I was not expecting that.
I, as a rule, when people bring a hardcover, I generally, if there's a place to draw in it, I always do a quick drawing because I just feel I'm very grateful that people are supporting it. So I figured, it's a minute out of my life, a minute or two, a couple of minutes out of my life. But I think my job at a convention is to, meet people and just meet people. Yeah, I like sketching too. I don't get to do it too often, so it's a lot of fun for me. But I'm glad I nailed it for you, Dylan. I'm gonna, I figure I'm gonna get a lot of these because I've been made it public that I would do sketches in them. I'm just hoping I don't have a run of like 300 of them, but DC told me it did pretty well, which is encouraging for me because they sort of sideways promised that if this one does well, they'll do a couple of omnibuses for the other thing. I told them, I said, look, I'd be happy if you did one of these little compact comics, and did a Jonah Hex one. Yeah, I mean, this was for $10. I mean, let's be honest. These should be at airports.
I know. Yeah. I was thinking the same thing. I was at the airport the other day. I'm like, why aren't these everywhere in an airport?
I mean, honestly, every time I go to the airport, I'd probably buy one to read on the plane. I don't know why they're not there because it seems like the big no-brainer. People are sitting on flights for 5 hours. You can really dig in. And they're small, so you can just throw them in your bag and it's pretty easy. Yeah, I don't get it. But anyway, it's funny because I was counting up how many issues of Jonah Hex that Jordy Bernay drew.
Mm.
You know, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 19 issues he
Wow.
did in that 70. And I thought, well, how great to have two of these with
Yeah.
just the Jordy stories would be pretty amazing. But until I run DC Comics, who knows what's going to happen? I don't
with
have to
Netflix and
change.
Paramount. Maybe you will be. Who knows, Jimmy?
Yeah, hopefully I got a friend or a fan. You know, all you need is one fan in charge, and then you get that phone call. It's really a small world that way. But you know, we're in the comic business part of that business. We're the nickel and dime guys. You know, it used to be that they looked at comics as the IP generator. You know, we're going to generate stuff. But let's be honest, we have if whoever buys Warner Brothers gets like 1,000 characters, right? And I always, because I laugh because Netflix, you know, they went after Mark, you know, Mark Millar, however you say it. They went after Mark because they wanted to have superhero things, and not all of his stuff resonated. But some of it did pretty good. But my thing is, if they do buy this, if this does go through and everything goes through, they now have all these characters and literally a ton of things they can do for TV shows on Netflix. And if I was personally doing it, I would just look at each country and see which character might be more interesting to do it, or give it to two different groups and let's see what they do. But I'd say, hey, you know what? The movies have to be under 5 million. They have to be character driven. Go, you know, show me what you got. But we'll see. I mean, you know, I worry about the comics. I can't worry about that stuff. You know, that stuff's gonna happen with or without me. So.
Well, I don't know if you know this this lady, but Amanda is part of this one as well, Jimmy. It's pretty awesome.
I do. She's up. She's upstairs right now.
Is she?
Yeah, she's nailing a deadline for the Harley Elvira book. Like she has to get that thing out the door. She's doing a couple of pages in each issue.
Okay.
So she's finishing up the pages on issue 5, and then we just wrote issue 6. So that's it. That's the last issue. And it ends with a poem, which is pretty crazy. When you read it, you get it. But it's been a really fun series. But she gets to draw a couple of pages per book, so she's really happy with that. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Because I think you have a couple things, if I'm not mistaken, with Dynamite, right? You have Blue Falcon, which has been awesome. It seems like it's doing really well too. I'm hearing a lot of really good things from other fans.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
You know what? I have no idea. When I check online, it's rare. And once in a while, people review the comics. Sometimes they don't. You know, sometimes they just review whatever's popular and whatever. You know, that was a fun one. I mean, that one I did in advance, so I'm seeing it come out, even though I wrote it a while ago. You know, and it's funny because when I do read the reviews or some fans tell me stuff, I'm like, oh, I wish they hit me with ideas that I go, man, that's a great idea. I should have done that. That's the beauty of the fans, right? They tell you, oh, you know what you should have done. I'm like, oh, where were you when I was writing this, man? You know, I should have stole your ideas, but it's been fun. I like working with Dynamite. I know Nick Barucci. I'd say since the early '90s, right? So he kind of like approaches Amanda and I every once in a while with something, and this one he approached me and just said, "What's your feeling about you know, Blue Falcon and Dynamite?" And I'm just like, I have no feelings at all, except that I watched the cartoons a bunch of times, but it felt like a Batman ripoff with a dog. You know, it felt like, and I said, "So what's the deal with the gig?" And he goes, "Well, you have to kind of define who the character is, because it's just a generic, you know, the cartoon was very generic, and the dog is goofy." And I said, well, do I have to make the dog goofy? And he's like, no, you can make it. And I said, well, I want to make the dog mechanical, like a cyborg type thing, but I need a grasp on this character. So this mini series is basically me wrangling who the character is. And then if there's any more in the future, actually after this, it would be a breeze to write, because all the heavy lifting I think was done with this book, because I needed to know who this guy is. Like why, you know, why do we care? Right. That's always my, what does the character want? And what does the character fear? And why should the reader care? Is like, if you can answer these questions, then, you know, that's that. The funny part with the book is everyone I know wanted to do a cover to it.
Yeah.
And
some bigger covers too.
Yeah, I got some friends. Amanda did 3, but I did. I think the some of the ones that there's some guest ones coming up too that I love all these cover artists. They're all in and out in one drawing, but I have my big respect goes out to the interior artist. Culano is he's doing just a beautiful job. Pasquale, um, that's the hard worker. That's the heavy lifting on the book. The covers. They're great to look at, but honestly, if the inside's not rocking, then what are you spending $4 or $5 for?
Well, hopefully we get a Dan one, a Dan Panosian one.
Panosian, no, he didn't. He was busy working on other stuff, and I did get him on the Daredevil Punisher cover. I think he did one of those.
He did a couple.
Oh, there you go. Well, the Punisher series, that's all him. But no, what Dylan
this
has,
one right
Yeah,
here.
that one. Yeah, Daredevil.
yeah. I haven't gotten my comps yet, so I haven't seen the book yet. They send me the books after they come out, I guess.
Oh.
DC before, Marvel after. I don't know why, but
Weird.
so I haven't seen. I went to my local comic shop this weekend and asked them, "Hey, do you have a copy?" And they said it's sold out. So I didn't get a copy yet. So so I'm waiting on the Marvel comps just to see how it came out. I have no idea. I look at it and overlook at it. For a writer, you actually part editor because I look at it and then it's drawn, and then I see how the dialogue sits with the drawing, and I redo the dialogue, and then they put that together, and then they send me the colors, and I look at the colors. I'm like, okay, that's the wrong time of day. That's not right, and that costume's weird. That doesn't work there, and so you edit it so many times that by the time it comes out, I feel like I've seen it a million times, and it isn't until years later I had to go back with the Harley Elvira stuff and read some Harley stuff that I did years ago, and I realized I posted this yesterday. I realized there's a whole scene in when 2015 I think it was, or 16, in one of my old Harleys where Harley's handcuffed over her head and she uses her body and her knees to get the key to her mouth to open the thing. And I realized that in the Suicide Squad 2, the second one, James Gunn did a whole scene it's exactly that scene, but with a different surrounding. And I was like, oh, look at that. I didn't even know the movie did that. Like, I didn't until I saw it. And I checked the year because I'm like saying, maybe I did this after James Gunn did it. And I was like, no, this is 2016. That was 22. So it's kind of fun to see once in a while, I'm still waiting for that check, but it's still fun to see,
You think it'll come?
No.
And then congratulations on Deep Sea too, Jimmy.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we unlike most of my Kickstarters, we had a printing thing happen where it was just a weird thing because we gave them the numbers for each cover and they flipped it. So the one I needed the most of was the one I had the least of they printed, and the one I had the least of they printed the most of.
Wow.
So I did like 3 waves of getting the books out, and I finished up. I got the printer gave me the books on last Thursday, and we got everything out by this weekend. So it's all done. But like I had to wait, some people's packages, because they had add-ons, I had to wait until I got the regular covers in. But I made sure everyone got the digital, and I I'm like a nut with that. I want to make sure everybody has everything. But thank you. I mean, it's nice to see that book collected finally with all the extra pages, and that book is like 15 years in the making because we did it as these 3 small parts at Dark Horse, and then I got all the rights back, and I said, to the team, I said, this is just the beginning of the story. Would everybody like to come back and finish it? And everybody did. So, sort of like, Tommy and Dylan, when you have that thing you have to get done and it's been sitting over there for a while and they have to, that's how it was. I was like able to cross it off and go, all done.
Closure,
I did the Kickstarter. I knew it wasn't going to be a big Kickstarter, so I just did the math on how much it cost me to the dime to pay my guys, and that's around what we did, and everybody got paid and everybody's happy. And most people have the books. If not, they're coming today or tomorrow at the latest. So there is a wonderfulness about being done with something.
Yeah.
Yada
Well,
yada yada.
as a backer of several of your Kickstarters, you're very quick at shipping, so I don't think there's going to be any issue there, Jimmy, at all.
Well, we do communicate. So when it is running behind, Patrick and I will send an email.
Yeah.
What's up, Painkiller Jimmy? Yeah, Painkiller Jimmy. Doug, how you doing, buddy? Doug's up in freezing territory up there in the United States. He's probably inside with a sweater on. But you know, the Kickstarters is super important because no matter what happens with the companies I work for, the Kickstarter is basically what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to keep my small audience. Of course, I want to get it bigger, but I want to keep that small audience of loyal people and keep doing product a couple of times a year. That would be my perfect life, that I just work on my own stuff. But I do like working on the company characters when they let me do my own thing, you know.
Well, I don't know about you, Dylan, but the Daredevil Punisher was such an amazing representation of both these characters. I had a blast in issue 1. I know it's,
Nice.
what is it, a 5-part series, Jimmy? If I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken?
it's 5 part. It's funny because I read a review yesterday and the person was, oh my God, this happens right after Welcome Back Frank. And I'm like, yes. And I thought I was clear about that, especially with the last page. I thought it was clear that it wasn't happening now.
Exactly.
But it's funny how somebody else said, somebody wrote me, why is that building there? Because that building went, and I'm like, no, read the story, go backwards. I said, it's based on Welcome Back Frank, but you don't have to. Yeah, there's the World Trade Center. I said, but you don't have to read it. We redid the scene from Punisher's point of view. And I always wanted to do a story of, like, because in the comic with Garth, when Garth and Steve and I were working on it, I always said, so Punisher knocks him out. And I said, what happens to Daredevil after that? And I think Garth was like, well, who cares? And I'm like, good point. And I said, but I wanted to go in and fill in that gap. And the second and third issue, we see the second issue, we actually see Frank Castle leaving Central Park after dealing with all the Ganucci gang. And he's hurt. He's shot, and it's directly from the comic. And Daredevil runs into him there, but it sets up what happens 3, 4, and 5. And I get to put Misty Knight in the book as well because she's one of my favorite Marvel characters, and she's the only one I know that knows Matt. Does not know he's Daredevil at that time, but she knows Punisher. She knows Frank Castle personally, and I wanted to set up like a heat moment where the two of them meet, where they're not fighting and they have a talk. And so I thought Misty was the perfect protagonist, perfect person to be able to do this. And again, she doesn't know Matt's Daredevil, so not yet, right? That happens later on in the year. But I tried to stick to the continuity. So it's been an interesting book. I'm actually writing the last issue right now, and it's a challenge because comics are only 20 pages now. They used to be 22. And when you're a writer, you really feel losing that 2 pages because I am a person, and not everybody agrees with me. I do like to read a comic. I don't want 3 words said and then 5 pages in, and I'm like, I just read this thing in a minute. I like a little bit of dialogue. I think Gail Simone went online and said that's one of her things. Never do that. Never have too much dialogue. And I always laugh at Gail because I'm always like, usually 3 out of 5 things professionals say not to do, I kind of do sometimes. And I said, but I am also the person I love. I love the way some of the writers you can read it in 2 minutes. There's a joy to that. But if you'll notice my work, it gets wordy and there's a lot going on. And I am one of those guys that when I read a comic, I like to sit down in a nice, comfortable chair and get into it and and look at the art and read every panel. And I always picture the diehard comic people do that. Like they just, I read a book and then I go back and look at it again because I'm looking at the artwork and and I'm like saying, wait, why is that over there? That doesn't make any sense. But the book's interesting to write because being a New Yorker, everywhere in the book is actually a correct place. for me. Like, I know where it is. I know how long it takes. There's a reference where Matt's in Hell's Kitchen. He's got to get to Chinatown, and Misty Knight says, "Don't take a cab because Canal Street's closed down." And I'm like, it's only a line, but anybody in New York understands that he's got to take the train at this point, otherwise he's screwed. And it sets up a great scene in the second one with Punisher and Daredevil on a subway train fighting, and it's kind of fun. So anyway,
That's awesome.
I feel like I'm ranting all the time.
No, I love it.
Like, I'm like,
Come on, man, for that reason, man. You always give us
get
little
out very
bits.
often. I don't...
No, I love it, man. Well, we certainly want to talk about Deadly Tales of Gunslinger, and me and Dylan were talking, and the love that we have for Jonah Hex. Like, I can't think of a better writer for Deadly Tales than you. We've talked about this when Mark has been on with me. It's and Mark had to work, or he would have been on too. And he's the one that really, I mean, he's a big gunslinger guy. So
I know that. I know he has,
like Jimmy.
He
That
has
doesn't happen.
he has all the questions. He has all the where I'm like, oh my god, that's a good point, Mark. I don't really, you know. I'm actually writing 15 right now, and it's Patrick's back on the book for 12, 13. Patrick Reynolds is back on for 13, 14, and 15. And I'm realizing I'm writing the books for each artist, what they could do. Like, and that's pretty much what I did with the original Jonah Hex thing. Whenever I picked out the artist, I wrote it to aim at that artist. And right now the team on it, which is Pensica.
Yeah,
and Ferrer.
Art was insane in this issue, though, Jimmy. Even though I'm a big Patrick Reynolds fan, I don't know about you, Dylan, but it just fits that Western style. But this was amazing.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, I worked with him on Batwing years ago, you know. And when Todd suggested him, I said, "Bring him in, man. I love his work. I love his stuff." Todd does call me once in a while and talks to me. And this is like the one book where they tell me, "Do whatever you want, full steam ahead. Just keep writing." And so I have up to 18 outlined, but I'm finishing 15 because it's the end of a 3-parter with Patrick. But it's one of those things. I'm really having a good time. I'm trying to get a feel for the world that he's in slowly. I'm not going straight into Spawn, the madness of Spawn. Although I will say 14 and 15 has some crazy stuff in it, but I do like it grounded. The story grounded as much as I can. These 3 issues, they're underground and there's giant monsters and everything. And I'm always like, there's always crap down there, there's crazy stuff under the earth. But the flip side is the next 3 issues are like really grounded and really intense. And Patrick's really great with that storytelling that way. Like he is a guy I try to write less for because the art does more talking, But it's a never-ending learning exercise for me. I'm constantly learning. I'm trying to get better all the time.
I think you're all right, Jimmy. I think you're all right, man.
Yeah.
You have what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we kind of talked about this. And Dylan, jump in, please, man. But we talked about this right before we hit record. And I know timing, like a lot of this was probably written a while ago. But as a fan, walking into a comic book store, seeing like 2 or 3 titles. I mean, Pop Kills is still on the shelf in some stores.
Yeah.
Obviously, you got Blue Falcon, Daredevil, Punisher. Yes, the trade.
Yeah.
You got a lot going on right now from a fan perspective because we're seeing a lot of this hit, and it's awesome to see, Jimmy. To us, you're like the busiest guy in comics right now.
Well, I'll give you a little history. So this book, we actually started it 6 years ago. Okay. We started it, meaning we were going to do it for the anniversary of Marvel Nights. I think it was 20 or 25, whatever it may have been. But all the schedules got messed up because it was tying in with Joe's book as well. And everything. So we had to take a break on it for a bunch of years. And then Dan, and Dan was drawing it. And, he's actually drawing the last issue now. So there's a big gap, but the art's beautiful. I mean, Dan's interiors are like, it's hardcore. Somebody told me, I really hate that book that you did. Some guy, he went off, he goes, I really hate it. I don't like what you're doing to the Punisher. I really hate it. And I'm like, good. That's I said, if you want a regular story where he just goes and kills guys, it'll happen. Hang in there. But this is a little bit different. This is a little older Frank, and he gets messed up in this book. And it's definitely different than the Daredevil Punisher book. Completely different tone, wise. But I do love it, and I do love that they let us I asked for the obituaries, and they said okay, you could do that. And then I had this idea of, like, before we open the book, I want to spend like a minute or two with Frank and see what's going on in his head. And that's what this page is. The in the first issue, where he's talking about, you thought I'd be gone by now, dead, retired. I just wanted to catch up. Yeah, I just wanted to catch up. I felt like, if you're reading this book, I feel like we need to catch up where Frank's head is at. And I didn't want to do it in the story, because I felt like the story, it should just shoot from him. He's feeding the guy into a construction grinder, I think, in the first page. And I was like, that's where Frank should be. But I wanted to put this in, and I think they put it again in the third issue. They put it again. But I wrote that it was a mission statement for Frank Castle, and I asked for 3 things to the editor, and they did 2 out of the 3. So I'm really happy. The third thing I can tell you, I just wanted to do videos of me and Dan talking about making the book, and I wanted to put one of those things where you just scan your phone on the inside, and you can watch it on YouTube. But they weren't interested in it. I get it; it's more work. But I'm going to do it in my Kickstarters from now on, where you can just scan like these 5 different codes, and you can go watch us talk about the book. And I kind of like that extra. I am one of those guys that used to buy DVDs for the extra scenes. The deleted scenes were always my favorite. Like, give me as much as you can of those. And then when the director talked about making the movie, those were my favorite things. I remember when Laserdisc came out. Yes, I'm old. And they would have all these things where the actors were talking about, like, the hell they had making the film and everything. And they never censored them. They were always, like, out of control. And I always thought, why can't we do that in comics? Like, have the creators talk about every level of working on the book. It'd be kind of fun. But, but I'll take the obituaries. I mean, I'm having fun writing those. Trying to make them sound realistic, and I almost feel bad for some of the people, because Punisher just kills a bunch of people, especially the last issue. There's a lot of obituaries. I don't know.
As he should, Jimmy.
I don't know how many they're gonna let us run with, but I'm piling them up for them, and we'll see what they do.
I absolutely love the obituaries, man.
That's great. You took no time getting into it with this book. It's just pedal to the metal from the go, and now Frank is getting run through the ringer with this whole El Zombie situation.
Oh yeah, issue 3 is brutal, because, well, something happens. I think it comes out this week, right? Doesn't it come out tomorrow or Wednesday?
Wednesday, yeah. The 10th.
Yeah. So Frank, obviously is drugged, and obviously at some point he comes out of it, and it's not going to be exactly what you expect, but it's gonna be, because he has to come to the realization of what he did at the end of issue 1. Which is basically what happened to his own family in a way, So it's pretty heavy, but I think by issue 4, I think once it's put together in one big book, I think this should have it's a fun thing. I'd love to do more of this Frank Castle with Dan, but we don't know how it sells. We have no idea what it's doing. I just, I look at the store. I go in my local store and I sign the copies.
Yeah.
And usually when I do that, they sell out pretty quick, because people, it's free, right? So they grab a bunch of. So I have no actual idea how things are, and the reviews are deceiving, because people have very opinionated, and I'm just like, I get it. I get it. You know, I get it. I just want to, you should do a comic where it's just called Punisher Kills. That should just be the book. And it's just everything he does. But I wanted to do a little more story and mess with his brain a little bit. So we'll see what happens. See if you guys like the third issue by the time it comes out.
I'm excited. So I will definitely be getting that this Wednesday. And then not only that, not only do we have a really good Punisher story, you have Dan's art. I mean, I can draw whatever and just put it in the book.
Dude, I mean, the wraparound, I think there's a second printing coming out. And it's funny because the second printing just has her with a different hairdo, which I was laughing at. I was like, that's it, you know? But we did talk them into the wraparounds, which, you know, we liked. And I told Dan, I said, you know what's great about this back cover? We could, all the spot, you could draw in that circle, you could draw up here, you know. I said, there's a lot of drawing room on this cover. I look forward to sitting with Dan at the show and signing the books for people together, you know, because he's an old friend of mine. And so getting to work with friends is probably like the icing on the cake for comics. Like when you work with your buddies, there's nothing better. I work with my wife. It's great, you know, and when I work with my friends, it's terrific. And I've been blessed with, you know, I look at Harley and I got Chad Hardin, who's a good buddy, and John Timms, who's an amazing artist. I don't know if I ever told you how John Timms broke into the business.
No.
Amanda and I went to do a signing in Costa Rica. And we were in this little store in the middle of this area. And we had a pretty big line for Costa Rica. We thought, who the hell's going to come out to get a comic signed in Costa Rica? I didn't know how big comics were in Costa Rica. But there's this guy with a portfolio, and he's showing me his work, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, dude, I can get you work in a week. And he's like, you serious? I said, yeah, it was John Timms. And I called up Dan DiDio, and I said, listen, I got a guy. I want to use him on Harley. He's like, is he ready? I'm like, he's ready. And we used him. I think he did like 30-something issues of Harley. I mean, it literally, like, overnight, he just started knocking these books out. And yeah, man, it's just the right place at the right time. And he just walked up to me when I was I was looking for, Chad needed a break. Poor Chad was killing himself. And and then John's been working ever since.
His Aquaman right now is next level.
Good.
Yeah. He's a guy I want to write for again, you know, somehow, someday. You know, regular DC's doesn't really hire me that much anymore. I don't know what happened, but they gave us the Harley Elvira thing with Nikki, but yeah, I'm not in their hemisphere. Like, for some reason things change. I have no idea. It has nothing to do with me. It just has whoever's up there. And then all of a sudden, you know, somebody flipped the thing, and somebody in DC and Marvel started calling me and going, "Hey, can you do this?" So it's like, it's so random, this business. It really is crazy. There's never job security, which always keeps us on high alert. You know, there's never job security. You never know what's going to happen. And a lot of it has nothing to do with me. It's just some editor up there is hiring their buddies, and oh, you're old. Maybe that's part of it. Hey, you're old. You know, whatever it may be. But I'm glad that Marvel. I got a couple of calls from Marvel, so that was good. You know.
Go ahead, Dylan.
I was going to ask, what was it like switching topics? What was it like going from writing that Jonah Hex series into the New 52 All-Star Western, going from like one and done stories to normal arcs? And how was that? Were you excited about that? Because you guys did Six Gun War, and I think that was like the only really like multi-story arc.
We were forced to do Six Gun War.
Oh.
Because they said, you know, the numbers are okay, but what if you did a multi-parter? Would it sell better? And we did it, and it didn't sell any better. So we went back to this done-in-one issues, because we said, listen, no other comic is doing done-in-one stories. Let us continue with Jonah Hex. The thing about the done-in-ones, besides being able to tell a complete story, the idea was always that we can have 10 different artists working on done-in-ones at the same time. And as they come in, we can put them out. It doesn't have to be in order. So we were able to get some amazing artists like Riso and Bernay and all these different artists to work, because we gave them deadlines. We said, take 4 months. Like we would tell them, yeah, I remember Brian Stelfreeze did an issue, and I said, you have 5 months to do it, but on the 5th month, I'll be calling you every day if you don't have it done. And so what the Dunham ones did for us was we actually did 70 issues of that comic and never had a late issue. It came out 70 weeks in a row at the first week of the month for 70 rows. Dan Dio said we won an Invisible Award because we got the book out. We never had a late issue. So when Jonah Hex ended, they were doing the new 52 stuff. And Dan is a huge Jonah Hex thing. And he said, listen, he says, I don't want to end Jonah Hex, but the numbers are never there. You know, he goes, we keep this book because we love the book. He goes, how about bringing him into Gotham? And let's try that out for All-Star Western. And we did, and it did okay, but it's still the numbers. The Jonah Hex never had the numbers, right? It had the success. It got the acclaim, right? We got guys like Darwin Cook doing books. And then Dan said, how about by like issue 10 or whatever, he said, how about taking it a little crazier? Let's just throw everything in the kitchen sink at the book. He goes, but I'm going to give you extra pages in the back so you can do some backups and revive some of the older Western characters. That's why when you see in the All-Star Western omnibus, you have, instead of the books being the front story and then the back, front story, back, like they were in the comics, I said, can we move the front story to the front and then move all the backups to the back? Let's do that. So they did that for the book. So it became, we actually wrote a series that we thought any day now we're going to get canceled. And that went on for a couple of years until he finally called me and said, listen, you guys, this issue, I think it was 37 to 38. He goes, it's going to be the last one. We just don't have the sales. And Darwin Cook was over my house, and he was drinking coffee. He always came over and drank coffee in the morning and hung out. And he said, what are you going to do for the last issue? And I said, I'm going to deconstruct the Jonah Hex annual from the past where they have him dying and being stuffed. I said, I have a way around this so we can continue more stories one day with Jonah. And I said, plus I'd like to see him have sort of a happy ending with Tallulah as well. And so here's how I structured the story. And Justin and I talked about how we can make this work 100%. If you read the annual, the old art annual, it makes a complete sense, right? And Darwin Cook loved the story. And he says, well, I'm drawing that one. And I'm like, you sure you want to? He goes, yeah. And then if you notice in the omnibus, I don't know if you noticed it, Dylan, they took Darwin's artwork for that last story. And they kind of, in the splash page with Tallulah, where she's going to dive into the water, as a little thank you to Darwin, a tribute. They in the original book they had a bush covering up her. She was naked and about to jump in the water, and they had a tree branch in front of her, and you couldn't see anything. But if you look at the story and you look at the splash, they decided, well, it's not really anything anyway, and they printed it like Darwin originally drew it. So I know Dylan's looking at it.
Yeah,
I could probably find it quicker, but
that's awesome.
Did they number the pages?
Yes, they did.
Oh, okay, here we go. So it is.
Okay, I see it. I think it's like 80, or like it's around 802, 801.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the splash page is 800, 801.
Okay, yeah. So you see that, you see Tallulah.
Yeah.
In her, that used to have a big. If you look at the original comic, it had a big tree branch in front of her, behind everything. So they took that off, and I thought that was really cool of DC to do. Because why not show it like it was?
Yeah.
And it's not adult. It's just a butt. So, but anyway, so really happy with it. And DC said the omnibus did very well for them. But I keep pushing people to buy it. Go buy it. I need the numbers so I can get the other books out.
For sure.
But look, one day if they make a Jonah Hex show, they'll be putting that stuff out again. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It isn't even for me. I hated. The problem was we had all these trade collections, and when the movie bombed, they pulled them all from the stores and trashed them. So Barnes and Noble returned them all because the movie bombed. And I never saw anything like that. And so that's why they're all out of print. They've all been trashed and returned. There's no more of them. Because people tell me it's hard to get the trades, and I said it's because they're so out of print. It's not funny. It's like they're gone. So I'm hoping one day to do a collection, but the All-Star Western one is definitely a good start.
Maybe there's a pallet of it at Diamond still.
If there is, they probably sold it already. If it's Diamond,
exactly.
It's either that or. Yeah, I hate to tell everybody, but a lot of this stuff gets recycled anyway. It gets shredded and recycled. That's the nature. That's why some of your comics are worth money. If it wasn't for moms throwing out comics in the 40s and 50s, you wouldn't have all those collectibles. Moms were like they were fixing the market back then for collectibles.
I love it, man. This is a good question, Jimmy. We love your opinion. I know we kind of mentioned who knows what's going to happen because it seems like Paramount just came with, I think, $22 million more dollars, and kind of a hostile style over.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going to happen. I don't know what's better for DC Comics, to be honest, as far as print comics. Do you have an idea what you think would be better for the actual comic industry?
I think it's going to come down to whoever buys it, how they feel about comic books. Yeah. To be honest with you, because the revenue from the comics isn't that gigantic. They make that in a hit movie on a weekend. You know what I'm saying? So, and they looked at it in the past as an IP generator, meaning we're doing these comics, we're creating these characters. Now we have the IP. But let's be realistic. Right now, they have all the IP. They have all the characters. They own them all. We see it happen in Disney where, Disney is a lot of their comics are licenses, right? Dynamite has Disney licenses. Other printers have Disney licenses. I'm not sure where it's going to go if they look at DC and say, why do we have this? Like, who buys comic books anymore? And if somebody says, yeah, but they made 11 million last year, they'll be like, yeah, but we make that in a weekend. Why do we have this offices? Why do we need this building? Flip side is a guy comes in. I love comics my whole life. Oh my God, let's blow up comics some more. I don't know. I mean, I see the future of a lot of it going like this. I see a lot of it, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's why I fully support smaller companies that aren't DC and Marvel. I hate to say it, but it's not. How would I put this nicely? Because the guy's doing great. Scott Snyder and the Batman, they're doing a great job with Batman and everything. But Batman always sells. It's now it's selling more. A year from now, it's going to sell less. 2 years from now, it's going to sell more. But these are owned by corporations, so they're corporate comics. They have rules, they have regulations. Trust me, they tell you what you can and can't do. I think I was told somebody can't smoke in one of my books. It happens all the time, right? You can blow a guy's head off, by the way, and you can cut their eyeballs, and you can do all that. Don't put a cigarette in that guy's mouth, though. So my thing is, I'm more interested in what smaller companies are doing because they can do anything. And to me, that's where all the exciting stuff, most of the exciting stuff comes from.
Yeah.
But we don't see Marvel and DC coming out with new stuff and new characters. Now they say, oh, well, it's going to be Vertigo, but a lot of it is just stuff that's built on what's existing already. So calling them IP generators is not accurate anymore because they keep selling the same things over and over, right? So I don't know. I try to look at it strategically. Personally, of course, I think they should just keep making comics, but you have to acknowledge that the market changes on some level. Comic shops are busy right now. They're doing great. Okay. I'm so happy for that. But we're seeing manga coming in. We're seeing all these different things coming in. And I think it's all healthy. But I am very aware that one company, DC, is whatever company is going to be, Netflix or Warner Bros. And Marvel is Disney. I see it clear as day. And I understand that if that's the only two books I'm reading, I'm realizing that I have a TV set with only two channels. And I'm a person that wants all the channels. Yeah. So I'm a big believer in just supporting the smaller guys. Plus, we have to look at the reality of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, and all them are going to be, they're what's the word I'm looking for? They're
Public
going to be
domain,
public.
right?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
going to be public domain years from now. Not too many years. Those years go quick. And
I think
so there's
Superman's like 5 years, right? 4 or 5 years,
yeah,
I think.
Yeah, we're real
yeah.
close.
So it's a lot of realistic thinking has to go on. And again, I get it. They make a Superman movie and it makes money. Um, but they have to look at how much money, like again, I think the smart thing with the studios would be is whoever comes in to say we're only going to budget superhero movies at 5 million, so you guys are going to have to work hard to figure out how to make this story amazing, because effects is secondary. We love them, but at the same time, if the story's not great, it doesn't matter what they do, and we're so spoiled, right? Because how exciting is Jurassic Park? We've seen every dinosaur, and it's really tough to make these things exciting. But the new one was a little better than most of them because the story was pretty good. And it always comes down to story. So no matter this new Predator movie out, I loved it. I thought it was so much fun. But I realized it's so story driven. Like it's about the story. And really, I think at the end of the day, I think whoever comes in is going to have to sit there and go, what's our focus besides money? Because we know it's always money. But what is the legacy? What is the thing we want to do? I am hoping whoever comes in starts to look at the smaller characters and say, you know what? Let's give this character Creeper. Let's do a 6-issue mini in Paris. Let's shoot this in France with the Creeper. Hey, what's this character? Oh, that's pretty cool. Let's explore it there. Um, I want a new Spawn movie already. I'm waiting for this thing because I know that Gunslinger would be a great one to make. In the past and the present. Why not do both at the same time, right? So there's a lot of possibilities, but I'm always slapped in the face by the word greed, and greed motivates a lot of things. And I keep thinking like a fanboy because I all want these fun things to happen, but at the end of the day, I know it's money that motivates a lot of these people, not creative people. Creative people will go broke for their idea. Corporate people will die on the vine for money, for more money. So I'm hoping somebody that comes in is really creative, sees what great work is being done, and says, "How can we build on this instead of how can we move this out of the way, get this thing out of the way, and let's get back," because that's always a possibility, realistically.
So true. So
But
true.
what do I know? I really don't know anything.
Yeah, you've only been in the
Like
industry
everybody else, I guess.
Yeah, you're pretty new to the industry, Jimmy. So I don't know.
I've seen comics ending 10 times already in my lifetime. I've had people tell me, oh, this and that. And I also understand how small the comics audience is, right? Because somebody said, oh, when Harley was big, they're like, oh my God, do you get recognized everywhere you go? And I started laughing. I said, if I'm in a comic shop, maybe, at San Diego Comic-Con, sure, I'm having dinner and some guy comes over and says hi, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? I said, outside of that, nobody cares, and that's okay. I'm really, I don't do this for that. Like if you're in comics to be popular or be famous, man, you're in trouble. Most people wouldn't recognize. The only person we had that people really recognized was Stan.
Yeah.
Even Todd and Jim Lee. Jim Lee, I don't believe they get recognized too much. Maybe Todd more than Jim, because Todd's out there a lot. But Stan was our superstar. Stan was our famous person. Like, I think I told this story. I might have told you guys when I went to a party in San Diego at the sci-fi party, and I came up the escalator, and they have these like loungy couch bed like lounge things where people sit on there with their drinks. I remember coming up the escalator, and I see Stan Lee with Lucy Lawless on one of them, and they're both laying there drinking a drink, and I'm like, yeah, it's good to be Stan Lee. I'm like that. He crossed into the movie star area pretty well back then. I'll never forget that. And I was like, the chance of me being up there with Lucy Lawless, slim to none,
We have a great question here. I've always been a big comic collector, but I've always enjoyed comic trading cards as well. For your cards you did for DC versus Marvel cards, did you get to pick the characters?
Absolutely not. They gave me a list of 10 and they said, you're doing these 10 cards. And I was like, okay. And I got to draw them, and I love doing cards because they're small, it's easy, it's a hit and run gig. Um, I I gotta be honest, and maybe he could answer this. I never fully understood why people collected cards. Like when I was a kid, I had baseball cards, right? And we would gamble with them. We would like flip for that. We flip them, and we play all these games where I don't know if you remember, when I was a kid, we have like six of us would get our baseball cards
Mm-hmm.
and we throw them, and whoever has drops closest to the wall gets to pick up everybody else's cards. Like we used to gamble with them. I don't know, but I never understood the um, the real appeal of them, except when I was younger, because you couldn't just buy all the cards, right? You had to buy packs and open them up.
Mhm.
The minute they sold boxes or complete sets, I feel like I lost interest. Like I like the lottery aspect of cards. Like I don't know what I'm gonna get. I told the man, I said one day I'd love to do a Paint Tool Jane card set, and every card in the package like was a piece of original art.
Ooh.
Now, some would be by known artists, some would be by up and coming artists, but you'd buy a pack of 3 on double thick board, and it would be like $10 a pack or something, and you would get 3 sketches. Like, so every package would have something cool like that. And they tell me it doesn't make sense because what are you going to pay the artist, $1? And I'm just like, oh yeah, okay. But I love the idea of discovery and finding things. And when things come out in full packs, I always feel like full sets. I always feel like, well, that takes away the chase of it, you know. And I think a lot of what we do is the fun of it is the chase. I can't find that issue. I got to get that issue. I'm not a guy that chases covers because I feel like for every comic I buy with another cover, I feel like I should be buying a different book. I should be buying, but that is not very common, and that's not very. When I saw there was 67 Batman covers, I was like, okay, that's a lot of covers to buy. Let me pick the one I like the best, and I just like pick that one. And the guy's like, that's $20. I'm like, nope, give me the one that's $4.99. I don't care. I just want to read the book,
Well, working with Dynamite, man, they are
yeah, they do. You know
covers.
what I do admire that they do one thing. I was laughing. I have one here. So they do a cover gallery in the back of the book, so I can tell. And so technically, there's only 4 covers for this book. I know that's funny. I'm saying only 4, right? I'm only going to punch you in the head 4 times. The 4 is still a lot. And then they do ones without logos, and I'm like, okay. And their incentives 1 in 10 or whatever. It's a game that I do not fault a smaller publisher for.
Yeah.
Okay. I fault big publishers when they do 60 and 80 version. How many of those crossover covers for those books? Oh my God. Like, and some of them are $30 and $40. And I'm just like, you already have all the money. You already got it. Stop being so damn greedy. Like, pay your artists more on the interiors. It's a money grab. And I'm hoping that gets a little tired. I look forward to the day when the books have 2 covers again. But I don't fault smaller companies because they have to hustle to get any kind of numbers. So that's me. I'm sure people at Marvel DC want to throw stuff at me right now, and that might be possible. That might be happening. Maybe that's why I don't get hired too much from them. So
I was gonna say that's why we're not getting a Jonah Hex, Jimmy. Jeez.
Oh no, we got it. We got. What are you talking about? We got it. Oh, a new one? Well, you never know. You never know what's gonna happen. That's all I have to say.
Fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed, Jimmy. Another great question with your brother.
Yes.
Any chances?
Hey, doing a project with him. He and I, we swim in the same ocean, but we're in different ends of the ocean. He does a lot of indie stuff, and he mostly just inks, my brother. That's mostly what he does. I don't do that anymore. I granted, I've done some stuff as because favors. I did a John Romita thing recently, and I love doing it, but I don't do it for a living. So Pete does his own thing. If he gets to ink a book I'm working on, great. But most of the guys now ink their own work. So I will say, if you want to be an inker in this business, make sure you can draw or write or do something else, because there's not going to be a lot of work for you. It's just
Digital changed the game, right, Jimmy?
Digital changed the game. Also, the rates are terrible still. The rates are not great in comics. So an artist needs to pencil and ink their pages to make money. Some of them even color them these days. We do everything we can, because you would think page rates do not keep up with inflation. Not that we know what inflation is anymore, because they got rid of that department. They're not allowed to tell us anymore. But we know there's inflation, right? We go out to eat now, and a Five Guys burger is almost $10 just for the hamburger, right? I mean, it's ridiculous. And McDonald's, I don't know. I think a Big Mac is like $8 or $9, and it's like dog food. It's like, no, I could just go to the supermarket and buy meat and cook my own burger. Thank you. But the page rates do not keep up with inflation, so we're still at the same rates we were years ago. And because of that, artists have to take on other jobs in the comics. So that's why they pencil, ink, color. You know, I have guys that want to do everything. But yeah, I remember when I started in 91, and I had my page rate for some work I did. And recently I did some work, and it was only $15 more. so it's not.
There's your burger, Jimmy. There's your burger.
I'm telling you, man, it's not a great job money-wise. When you go to conventions and you see us sitting around doing sketches and charging for autographs, understand it's probably the only money we're making past the page rate, because nobody gets royalties hardly ever unless you have a top 10 book, right? But a book has to sell 60,000 copies before you get a dime and a royalty. So think about how many books sell 60,000, right? And let's take it further. So out of that dollar that you get, they make profit. So let's say we hit the 60,000 mark. Everybody got paid, printer got paid. So now the company makes $1 for every dollar they make. The whole creative team, penciler, inker, colorist, and writer, split a nickel out of the dollar.
Really?
Yeah. So that's what a royalty is. It's 5%, and they split 5%. So do the math there. It's not great, right? Now, if you're on Batman, you're splitting big royalties because it's constantly selling. But if you're on everything else, believe me, we sit here and I'm like, I want to know the numbers for this. Did we hit 60,000? I have no idea. They used to print those numbers. You used to be able to see the numbers. You notice how they're all gone?
All gone. Yeah.
Why is that? Why do you think they're gone?
Yeah, they could kind of mask how many issues they're selling.
How can they? We have no idea what things are. We have to take companies' words for it, and they could just tell the guys it didn't hit 60. How would we know? So they've taken that away too. It's not fair and it's not great. And then we ask for numbers, and then they'll give us numbers, and then I'll check it against some other stuff I know, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. So there's a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, so when you kind of feel like you want to kill the creator that's charging $10 an autograph, you might want to just say, you know what, I'm happy to give you my $10. Please sign the book and have a conversation with them. I always say, be super. I'm the guy you can come over and talk to for a while at the booth. Whether you're buying something, I don't care. I'll talk to anybody, but it's not, it's the reality of it. And then we see every month, some creator talks about how they didn't make money on a thing that became very popular. I was just going
to mention that, Jimmy. Sarah Pacelli, that's what I was looking up just to make sure I got her last name right. But she was one of the creators of Miles Morales, never received a dime. And I mean, there's been two very, very profitable movies, animated movies. And there's another one coming, and that's going to be, it'll probably be a $600 million movie. I mean, that that series is really good. And then
Yeah,
obviously,
I mean, I would tell her.
Sorry to interrupt, guys. I got to
Yeah.
bounce. It was
Oh.
great talking to you, Jimmy, and thanks for letting me
Good seeing
tag
you,
along,
Dylan.
Tommy. It was
Yeah.
great.
Enjoy
You
your
guys have
dinner.
a good night.
thank
Okay.
you, Dylan. Appreciate it, man.
The pizza came. That's what
Yeah.
happened. The pizza came.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's look, they do right by people, and sometimes, but you know, when you have, you hope that they would do better, having certain people in place to make sure the creators get taken care of. But we read these horror stories a couple of times a year,
Yeah.
and the the fans really do have the voice here to fight for these people. They don't always. It's usually a headline for a week and then it goes away. Um, I always say we have the power. Our dollar, almighty dollar, has the power. Now, do what I think she should do is just call somebody and talk to them up there and say, "Here's my situation." Going public with it is great if you want to get a lot of people angry on the internet, but that doesn't translate to, I would say, a better move. And probably she just said it in an interview and it got blown out, but
Yeah. For
a
sure.
better move is always to call your editor and say, "Hey, listen, I feel like I haven't been compensated on this. Who would I talk to up there to make sure I am? And then if I'm not, can you explain to me why I'm not?" Right?
Yeah.
That's always it's a legitimate question, right?
Yeah.
What happens is a lot of people, especially younger people, they're afraid to lose their job if they speak up. They're afraid to say anything.
Or something,
But
right?
right, but I learned that, I come from a business background. I learned it's okay to get on the phone and say, "Hey, can you tell me why I don't get it or why I'm not being compensated?" And
Mhm.
I've done it and I've been compensated for things. I just said, "Hey, listen, I noticed this thing came out. It's based on something I did. Is there anything I get out of this, or can you talk to somebody about?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, let's look into it." Um, so I always say it's good to be polite
Yeah.
and clear,
Yeah.
and don't go on the internet complaining so much because that doesn't really help you. But you need to. She probably doesn't know, but my advice to be with her would be talk to your editor and see what they can do for you.
Yeah.
And because the internet loves to be outraged over everything, and
100%. And again, just on Sarah's part, I don't know how this came out. To your
right, who
point, it
knows?
might have been just, I don't make money off of it.
Yeah,
And
and
then
I think
someone said,
I think she should just call her editor and ask him, like, "Hey, who do I talk to up at Marvel about being compensated?"
yeah,
And they might tell her, "Well, you didn't create the character, you just drew it." It might be that.
yeah,
It might have been somebody else designed it. So if somebody else designed the character and somebody else created the character, she's just a person working on the book then,
yeah,
right? And that's work for hire. So there's a lot of little delicate lines, right? Uh, but I always feel like a friendly letter
yeah,
email where it has a date on it and a time where you asked is kind of a better way to go.
yeah. Agree.
Or if you have an uncle that's a lawyer, that's a good one too.
Yeah.
But we
But
can't afford lawyers. I have a lawyer that has to handle contracts for me, and I always try to do as much as I can on it, and then I hand it to her, and I go, "Okay, can you just wrap this up for me? Because I know it's like per hour I'm paying per minute." And I'm like, "Can you just wrap that up for me and get it done in less than an hour?"
I think that's why having a paper films as a creator, right, is so important, right? And you see a lot of, especially over the last few years, a lot of the big talent from Marvel and DC, like a Rick Remender, a Jeff Johns, these guys have gone off to start their own thing so they can own their own IP. And it
Yeah.
seems like it's worked really well for all of you.
Yeah, I mean, well, none of us are getting rich from it,
Yeah.
but what happens is, and Tommy, you understand this on some level. You want to leave behind a little legacy of something.
Yeah.
Not everybody's gonna be Mike Mignola and Hellboy, and not everybody's gonna be Sin City and like Walking Dead. That is like the luck of the draw, right? You're in the right place at the right time. But sometimes, but I think it's great having your own characters just for the facts you can leave them to somebody. You can, you have a legacy. You can, my thing is, one day somebody else will do Painkiller Jane and do stories, and it lives on, right? It's something that Joe and I created, And there it goes. I try to live for the moment, but I do like the idea of controlling my stuff. And I'm still like I will say I'm still like a 20-year-old in the fact that I like my comics sexy and raunchy. I like them a little dangerous, and I like the books to do something the other companies aren't doing. Now Deep Sea was not that book, right? Deep Sea
Right.
was one of my first all ages books, one of my third one I think I've done. But I like my regular books to be a little naughty, and I like them to be adult because I figure, well, you're not getting that anywhere else, and this is the way I see the character. And that's the thing about owning your character. You put your money where your mouth is, and you create it where you want. Look, I'm given all the freedom in the world on Gunslinger. You know,
That's awesome.
there's nudity in the book, there's violence, there's everything. Todd is amazing because he understands what I do,
Yeah.
and he just says he gives me the room to do it, and he says, "Do the book you see, don't do the book I'm writing."
Yeah.
He says, "I got that," and I said, "Yeah, I can't do what you do. I'm going to do my own thing." And he's a creator. He understands his market, man. I
Yeah.
mean, Spawn is not hurting, you know.
No, he does really well. And with this expanded universe, he's got people back into Spawn that kind of fell off for a long time just because these unique storylines where there's Joe Illidge and Tim Seeley and doing Bloodruth, or even Thomas Healy getting an opportunity to write.
Yeah,
And his
he's my editor. He's my editor.
yeah, he's been a lot of fun. His titles have been a lot of fun. Now he's doing Sam and Twit.
Thomas is he's a talented guy. He's a smart guy. He's a lovely man. I
Such a
love
great
working
guy.
for him. He's like we talk and we're both on the same page. He understands to let me give me room to go. You know, Thomas will have a suggestion, he'll have a comment, but he understands like let me just go crazy. And yeah, they're a special crew. I do love working for Todd and Thomas, man. I gotta say, I, I I always think like, is this thing getting canceled or what's going to happen? And then somebody tells me, oh, it's selling really well, and I'm like, I notice in the store because I notice things on the rack. There's always like one copy left, and that's a really good sign, or it's sold out. And I'm like, okay, two things are happening: the store's not ordering enough, and/or it's selling. I have no idea. I always tell the store, order 4 more copies, see what happens, you know. But yeah, it's great working for them. Look, I like working for everybody I work for, and
Yeah.
I try not to put the companies down because they do their own thing.
Yeah.
But I had a really great quote given to me by another creator, and I had the same quote given to me by somebody running a company, and they said nobody worries about Jimmy Palmiotti.
Yeah. So
And
true.
I
Only
said,
Jimmy will worry about Jimmy. That's
right,
just the reality of it. And it's in
but it's
every
all
business too, Jimmy. Every business. I'm in the grocery
right,
industry. It's the same way. Exact
right.
same way.
And that's a really humbling thing, and it's a wonderful thing at the same time because I'm like, right, so I have to worry about myself and I have to do my own thing. And but you know, when creative people, we're in our own heads a lot, and sometimes we go to a con, it looks like we just came out of like a mine that we're in for a month. Like it's the first sunlight we're seeing, and like, you know, and oh my God, there's people. Let's talk. You know, I always say a terrible con for me is one that doesn't put me on a panel because I love doing a panel. I love talking to everybody, and I love getting questions from people because it's like my favorite thing. It's like throw me that hard question. I love it. You know.
And
But
to be
we do.
honest,
We're in
we
our
appreciate that too, Jimmy, because
yeah.
I think because of your experience and what you've been able to accomplish within the industry, there is a little bit more freedom to be able to ask you these questions and we'll get an answer back. Whereas I fully understand a younger person probably want to stay away from some of these topics because they're building their career. But you always are so transparent, and I think a lot of fans love you because of that.
Yeah, I mean, I figure if I help somebody along the way, that's great. If a company is getting mad at something I'm saying, it has to do more with their policy and less about me, right? Because I do give them I understand it's a corporate. I get corporate. I get it. I get it, right? Um, I'm not happy with everything they do, but nobody is. They themselves aren't, but they have to do it because that's the way the companies run. When you have if there's any issue with paper films, that's all on me, and my guys. And once in a while, they'll tell me what they feel, and I'd be like, okay, let's fix that, man. That's a good catch. Let's fix that today. I try to be fair and completely honest to the point of exhaustion, because it also makes it easier for me to forget things. If I'm completely honest all the time, I don't have to keep track of what I'm saying.
That's a good
Right?
point.
I just say what I know, and that's it. I don't have to keep track of it. So somebody put an old interview of mine I did like 20 years ago to yesterday up, and I read it, and I was like, God, I haven't changed that much. I'm really consistent. Like, I've learned stuff, but I'm consistent. I'm still a big goon for the same things, and I still enjoy the same things. And I'm like, I don't know if that's good or bad. When you have Amanda on by yourself, you can ask her if that's good or bad.
Yeah, I'll ask you.
But
One of
I'm
these days, I got to get you both on, Jimmy. I love Amanda.
I'm very consistent, though.
Yeah.
I think next time you just have Amanda. Just have Amanda.
Okay, sounds good.
I think that'll be more fun, because when we're on together, we're basically giggling about stuff all the time. Amanda and I have a lot of fun. So when we're together, we're always having a good time. And I go upstairs and visit her like 3 times a day. And I drag her out for food. I said, we have to eat. You know that, right? She's like, oh, I'm all starving. And I'm like, right, okay. But yeah, man. Well, ramble.
I love it. I love it. And this is my buddy, Will. No, I am not leaving my action figures with you, Will. I love you, though, man.
Do you have kids, Tommy?
I do. I have 4.
Okay, Will. There you go. You're out.
Yeah. Sorry, Will. I got 4 kids, man. I will tell you, though, Jimmy, not one of them enjoys comic books. They like going to the movies. They love the MCU, like all that stuff, the DC movies. But as far as sitting down and read a comic book, I am the lone ranger here.
I am going to give you some advice, because I don't have kids, but I used to teach at camp every summer. I was a counselor, and then I became the arts and crafts guy. Okay. Here's what you got to tell your kids. At no point, any day, are they ever allowed to read any of your comics from now on.
It's so true.
You just go in there and tell them, listen, from now on, you can't touch my trades. I don't want you reading any of the stuff I read. I want you guys to stay away from my stuff. You're not to see it or look at it or flip through it anymore. Just do me that favor. My comics are off. You cannot touch them anymore. We're done.
They won't leave me alone then. I do have 2 grandkids, though, Jimmy, so I'm hopeful that they'll grow up being in my room and seeing all my figures, that they'll be a little... I will say my middle daughter, or my second youngest middle daughter, her husband, I got him on the bug, and so we've been going to comic shops a lot, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, so I think COVID taught us that we need to have hobbies.
Yes.
It also taught people, although I don't see them applying it as much, but it taught people how important creativity and art is in their lives. Because remember, we had years where people weren't doing much, and comics were going up in prices, and people were buying art supplies. Do you remember the colored pencil shortage and all this stuff going on? And like I said, it's like this is like the really reverse. Yes, Douglas, exactly that. If I told Douglas, you can never watch this podcast again. That's a rule. No more.
Yeah.
He'll check it out next week. But during COVID, we learned how important it was to have hobbies. So your kids at that age, when you were a kid, you didn't have 400 channels on your TV. You didn't have what they have. You didn't have a phone with everything on it. You didn't have an iPad.
Yeah.
They have a different thing. They're gonna drop into what you do as adults more, understand it. They're also going to say, daddy's a little nuts. Daddy has tiny people in glass cases for some reason in his basement, and he has a neon sign. But also, daddy's also sweeter and smarter than all the other daddies, and daddy really is supportive of any stupid thing we do, right? So it's hard to, they just have to stumble into it, man. You don't know when that's going to happen. But right now, if they're in their teens or 20s, they're worrying about 400 other things.
Yeah, for sure.
They haven't learned to relax yet. They're not relaxed yet. They're wired. Later on, they relax.
That's a really good point, and I couldn't agree with you more. That is definitely my situation. But yeah, I mean, I still love it, and I took a long break though. I grew up with comics, like you said, got married really young, had 4 kids really quick. I didn't read a comic book for 15 years because I
Yeah.
couldn't afford it. I had my family, and then all of a sudden, I got promoted and got a better job. And I'm like, I want to get back to some of the things I really loved, and then you end up buying all this stuff that your mom threw away.
Oh, dude, I just bought. You're gonna laugh. I'm gonna show you because I just bought Blind from an auction. It just said 60s comics and DC, and I was like, well, I don't know what I'm getting, but I only paid $120 for them, and that sounds like a lot, but it's a stack of adventure comics.
That's crazy.
Superboy, has Crypto,
yeah.
and
It was just like a lot of books from the 60s.
It just said 60s DC comics, and they're all adventure and Superboy, and they're all like from, I don't know what year are these things. They're probably like 65, 63.
Yeah.
They're in pretty good shape, but it wasn't much. Nobody bid on them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, here's fat Superman dealing with fat. It's so ridiculous.
You got more than $120 there, though.
Well, yeah, maybe, I don't know. I'm reading them and then I bag them. So I'm reading. That's my reading pile, and then here's I already bagged them pile. So, once I read them. There was some good ones here. This one was pretty good with their Legion of Superheroes. They're picking them. And Lex Luthor trying to get out of jail. That was a fun one. He was a cellmate with Clark Kent. And then there's ridiculous. Oh, this one's funny. All the women in the Legion want to destroy all the men. So they start by breaking these little statues to them. It's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
And then I got a nice Supergirl.
Oh, that's
now. Why is this cover funny to me?
I know exactly why. I can tell you what it looks like.
She is throwing a giant penis. Can you? I'm going to take the bag out of the bag so you can see it better.
It is so true.
But it is such a. Look at that giant penis. And Supergirl is a mad killer. What does it say?
You know who the cover artist is on that, Jimmy? Does it say the cover artist? They had to know what they were doing, Jimmy. They had to know.
It looks like, and I hate to say it, Dick Giordano.
Really? Giordano, huh?
The inside is drawn by Tony DeZugnia with our Jonah Hex, and it's beautiful. The inside just beautiful.
Oh yeah.
That's
awesome.
But it also has a backstory. I was laughing when I read this because it has a backstory of Animal Man in it. I forgot that Animal Man was even that old. Because this is 1972, right?
Yeah.
And then besides Animal Man, just to show how geeky I am, these are the Starmen, which
the Starmen. Yes.
The Starmen. And I was like, look how much fun this comic is, and look how many pages.
That's crazy.
And then they reprinted an old Supergirl story. It's like a reprint. But this was 52 pages for 25 cents. And honestly, this is what I was buying when this came out. To give you a picture of it, 72. I was 61, 71. I was 11.
Oh wow!
When this came out, and I probably bought this, but not until the adult in me noticed the giant penis on the cover.
They had to have known what they were doing on that, Jimmy. That is just too spot on.
You think they're all like in a bar giggling?
Yes, I have a feeling they were all sitting around having an old English, laughing like crazy.
It's like a super baby getting pissed off and taking out a bridge. And just randomly, very, very, by the way, very like conveniently, Mom and Pa Kenna taking a cruise down the river and commenting on it. Like, you really, I wish covers were this interesting in the new comics, because the new comics, they're all poses, right? They're all like sorry, I'm just rambling here. But
No,
they're all like terrible, like they're not terrible. They're
yeah.
all poses though. They're all like these posing.
Actually, you'll get a comic and you'll see the cover and you open it up. It has nothing to do with the story. Sometimes the character's not even in that issue.
I mean, look at this
Like
cover.
I kind of like the bubbles on the front cover too. I wish we did a little more of that.
Like what? How in hell would you pass that comic up? What the hell is going on?
Can't.
Right?
Yeah.
Look at the power of that cover. Like, it's so crazy. And then it's Superman hitting the basement from Lois. Like, Superman doesn't walk down to the basement. He flies down
Of course.
from the ceiling.
Makes perfect sense, Jimmy. Perfect sense.
I went, yeah.
There was like an innocence too that I really loved during that time. It was pretty cool.
Look at the name of the character in purple and yellow.
Wonder Man.
Wonder Man.
Wonder Man.
Right. You know, and then we have, you know, I mean, it's silly, right? Because the yellow beam, Green Lantern can't do the yellow beam. And then, of course, we have the Sandman, which is always a killer one, right? You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I do love these old comics because I love reading them. And I beg, they're not in the greatest condition. They're probably all like 5.5s. I don't care.
Who cares?
But it's so much fun to go back and read them, and then you realize how little story is in the comics we do now, because they have like whole stories in like 6 pages, and I'm just like, man, that's such a lost art form.
Yeah.
You know, like imagine every issue of Spider-Man had 3 stories and they were 8 pages each.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you know, I would kind of like that, but again, I am an old man.
Mm-hmm.
Talking to a younger man right now, and I definitely, when I read that stuff, it makes me feel very, very nostalgic. Like, look at the crazy. The ideas are so crazy.
They really
in
are.
the comics, and everything is so grounded in the comics now. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. I kind of like when they go insane a little bit, but
yeah, me too. Is there a certain title that is current that you're reading that you're like, this is really good?
Well, I always read Love and Rockets. That's my go-to.
Yeah.
You know, I try all the number ones, but when I'm working, I can't read that much because I get like distracted. And honestly, the past week, and only because I've read it a million times, but I went back and revisited this.
Yeah.
I mean, this book is $10. Look,
I can't believe it. Yeah, no, I have almost all of them. I've been collecting all of them, and I keep one in my backpack because I travel a lot for work, and I will read them on the plane. It's just so easy to pull out.
Look how beautiful. Darwin, I remember when he did this, he said, I'm just going to do the 3-panel across kind of storytelling. And he was just amazing. The action and the movement and this stuff. And it's minimalistic drawing. If you look at it, it's very simple. But boy, oh boy, does it get the story across, the emotions on the characters. So simple, but man, we lost a great with him, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Because I would love to have 30 of these. Like if you did, like I think we talked about that it's the New Frontier, then we talked about the Next Frontier, which would be the 70s characters, right? And then, you know, but he never got to do it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
His life got cut short because of cigarettes.
Yeah.
Cancer. Yeah, man.
That'll do it, man. That'll do it.
Yeah, lung cancer sucks. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's what's going on in my life, Tommy.
You got a lot going on, Jimmy, and even though a lot of the stuff you said that you've written, you know, over the last, you know, 2 to 3 years, and it's all kind of hitting at once. Nothing like walking to a comic shop and seeing Jimmy Palmiotti in like 4 different places. It's pretty.
It's fun for me too, and I'm still working. I honestly, I do index cards, so I make lists of things I have to do, and I cross them off. I have in the next 3 weeks, I have 1, 2, 3 books to do, so I have to do a book a week right now. And that's tough. I just finished the Harley Elvira 6, so that
series done then? Was it 6 issues?
Yeah, 6 issues. I ended it on a poem, which is very rhymey. So it's not like a haiku or
Right.
anything. It's very much. But to write the poem, I did that this morning. I was laughing out loud. I'm like, what do I rhyme? With Outcast, or what do I write? But I felt like it was the right way to end the series, and it actually works really well. I think. I always worry about the end of a story, right? Because if the end sucks, it almost destroys everything before it.
Yeah.
How many movies we go to where we hate the end, and it's like, or the worst for me, no ending.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
just kind of in limbo.
I watched a movie about the end of the world, and then they never resolved the movie, and I was like, I'm like, what? Like, I watched till the end of the credits. I'm like, maybe there's one more scene where they tell me what happened. Nope. There's
Nothing.
And I watched the author say, well, I wanted to leave it up to your imagination. I'm like, don't make me work so hard. You got me in here. Get me out. Get me out of this. Like, I don't want to work that hard because I have to make up stuff in my head every day for a living. I need it written out. Somebody was yelling at me because I didn't like the last James Bond movie because I just didn't like it. I just didn't like it. I felt like there was no emotional connection between him and the girl.
Mhm.
And then him just giving up. I was like, that's so not Bond. And I'm like, and I said, well, the good news is I know they'll have another one. But I kept waiting for him to wake up, like to do that end scene where he wakes up and he's like in bed with another girl.
Yeah.
He's like, well, never happened. But they do that, indie films do that a lot, right? They'll set up a whole situation and then they need you to figure. They're like, well, of course she's gonna die, but we don't show it. And I'm just like, take another minute. I'm an idiot. Show it to me. I want to see this last scene. But I get when they do it. It's the art. Art should explain itself. You shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
But,
I know some things need explanation. I think movies is a little different. I know it's an art for sure, but
yeah.
If I'm going to spend 2 hours watching your movie, I definitely want an ending to what I enjoyed for the first, hour and 98 minutes. It doesn't take that long to close it up.
I mean, it could be a whole show. We talk about dissecting movies that don't have a definitive ending. Some people love it because they feel like, well, my imagination. But this was an end of the world thing, but they never said what it was that caused it. And I was looking for a cause. Gotcha. And the philosophy and the idea of the movie was just trying to show you that, look, it's no good. Either way, it's no good. Everyone's going to die. And I'm like, right, but I like to know as a warning so I don't do that, And I do like post-apocalypse movies because I consider myself a horrible survivor. Like I can't skin a squirrel and eat it. I think I'd be vomiting. I'd be like worrying about did I name the squirrel before I killed it? Like I will not survive an apocalypse, right? Amanda and I said we literally have to run out in the street and try to catch the bomb in our arms to make sure we're definitely dead. So I find it fascinating, these movies, how these really hot women are able to do all these skin animals and I'm just like, Margot Robbie's able to kill and eat, and I'm like, man, I would be like, I can't, and I'm like, I get it, I'm gonna be hungry enough, but I would probably be the guy like in the car, like pulling up to all the 7-Elevens to see what they have left on the shelves.
Just eating Snicker bars and Twinkies.
And I'd have a car battery and I'd hook it up to the Slurpee machine or something. I would be like the worst survivor, and they don't make movies about those guys,
Jimmy, you should write a comic book about the worst survivor. That would be hilarious.
I'm gonna write that down. The worst survivor.
That would be hilarious. Just the world is ending, and this guy just continues to survive, but he's surviving in the most ridiculous way.
It's the worst.
He could die any second, but he just finds a way to find a Snicker bar or something.
10,000 boxes of Cheerios, like he robbed a warehouse, but there's no milk. So he gets a cow, and then he's like trying to milk a cow, but he never milked a cow. And it kicks him in the jaw, and he's knocked out for 3 days. It's like no matter what he does, it just goes from bad to worse. It's like, all right, if I get a cow, I'm gonna have milk for this Cheerios.
Oh, gee, that would be hilarious. You got to do that, man. You got to do that. That's a perfect paper films Kickstarter right there, my friend.
The worst survivor. Well, if I do it, I'm gonna name the survivor Tommy. So
all right, sounds good, Jimmy.
I'm writing it down because this is how ideas happen, folks.
No, for sure. Yeah. No, it would
And I know the caffeinated wolf that said he'd read that. That is instantly one sale. We got
Yes,
that.
I would
But I
definitely get
noticed
that. That would be
the
hilarious.
caffeine. He didn't say he'd buy it. He just said he'd read it. So,
Okay. Come on, caffeinated wolf, you got to buy it, man.
and then read it. Don't get it offline because they do that with my Kickstarters once in a while. Somebody will scan it and put it online,
Oh,
or they'll take my PDF and make it available to the public. And I always have to write them and go, "Can you please take that down? It's the only money I'm making. You're
yeah.
reducing it from $5 to I made no money. It was a
Yeah,
bull,
Doug,
right? It was a bull."
Doug said he couldn't get milk. It was a bull. Or when he did get milk, it was just a very little.
But I think the fun of it would be to have a semi-intelligent person
Yeah.
still not understanding, like, wait, how do I work a generator? Or like, I mean, I don't have electricity, so how do I get electricity? And I'm like,
It's got to be
me, I'd
like
go
some crazy IT guy that's just brilliant in that field,
right,
but
he can't see
oblivious to how the
anything.
real world works.
I think the more funny thing is the guy that sort of understands it.
Or he's watched a movie and he thinks he got it, and then he tries to do it, and nothing's
Right. Like, I know I can start a fire with my glasses if it's a sunny day,
yeah.
And he's like, I used to burn ants with them, so let me try it with like I said, I think I always said in the future, like when it comes down to survival, books are going to be the thing. Everybody's, I think it was that movie with Denzel Washington where the Bible was the book they were
Oh
trying
yeah,
to get. Remember
yeah.
that? I love that movie. I thought it was so clever. It didn't do very well, but I thought like I love that kind of movie because it was like, oh,
Plus, it's
look at that.
Denzel. Like Denzel's like great and everything. I think.
Yeah, he's great in everything. But anyway, so the next book coming out I have is The Worst Survivor. The story of Tommy. You have to make up a different name for you
All
because
right,
it can't be your name. Let's see. Who do we have on the list here?
Yeah, we got Doug. We
Doug
got
Leftridge,
Will.
Tommy Leftridge.
Yeah,
Tommy Leftridge. That's not bad. Wolf is good. Tommy Wolf because he's
Tommy Wolf.
anything but a wolf,
Yeah.
right? Your last name is Wolf.
It
You should
sounds
be a
like
survivor.
really like manly and just cannot figure things out.
Yeah, I mean, I literally see the character like after the running out. Hi, do you know how to milk a cow? Do you have a cow? No, that's the next thing I have to.
Where do I find a cow?
I have a lot of cereal, and it's going bad real quick. It only has it. It's marked 2028, and it's now 32. You think it's still good? I haven't opened the bags yet. I mean, we literally be looking at like, what is this? And I'm gonna go after this because I have to go. But there was a the guy that did Ren and Stimpy, I can't remember, but he did a Kickstarter about cans, right? Canned food. And what happened was when he grew up, his parents were poor, very poor. And in the supermarket, the labels would fall off cans and they didn't know what was in them. So they used to have a bin of cans and they were like 20 cents each. Just you can grab 30 cans, but you have no idea what's in them. And the dad, the thing is he'd buy hundreds of them and bring them home and have no idea what's in. And the kids would shake them and they go, I think it's pineapple, I think it's green beans. And every day for dinner, he'd open up a can and that's what they would eat. They would like mystery can. And that would be like, a joke where the guy finds a truck full of cans, but there's no labels on them. And he's like, what's in here? And it's
dog
like
food. Sometimes it's green beans. Who knows?
Well, how do you know it's dog food?
Exactly.
Or cat food? Like it smells bad, but it might be meat. I mean, let me put it on a frying pan and cook it up. And it's like, oh.
So if any of Jimmy's comics are late over the next month, you know that he's really working on The Worst Survivor. Really working hard.
When I do it, it'll be dark humor because it'll be.
Oh yeah,
it has to be funny, right?
Yeah.
It has to be.
He goes into 7-Eleven to get food, but he always sees nudie magazines and he forgets to get the food. Now he's still hungry.
Right. Yeah, nudie mag. See, do they still have nudie magazines in 7-Eleven?
I don't think they do. But when I grew up, they did, and they would have like a piece of cardboard over it.
I mean, you have to literally
like register to turn his head because I was like 12 years old. Like,
right. Where will we get our porn in the future? if there's no electricity.
Exactly.
We'll have to like break into Heritage and buy the collection of Playboys that the guy
Yeah,
or
exactly.
bash a glass and Playboy #1 is worth
Yeah.
and the guy reads it and he's like, yeah, he trades that for a cannon that's not marked.
Oh, you could go forever, Jimmy. This is awesome,
Yeah,
man.
I think Douglas is the kid that would buy this cereal for the toy. Douglas, I think you're talking about yourself right now because I think I when I was a kid we had cereal that had toys in it, but I
Yeah.
honestly always went for the cereal first. I was a Honeycomb, Captain Crunch, Quisp and Quake kind of guy.
Yeah.
I still love cereal though. So
Me
what can I
too.
tell you? All right. Well, I
Jimmy,
have to go.
thank you so much for spending so much time with me, man. As always, I love having you on. I'll reach out to you in a few months. I know you're real busy, but you're
I just
always
hope we all learned something today.
Yes. I think we learned a lot of information. Not sure how useful it'll be, but it's been fun.
And thank you. I'm seeing yeah, hey there, Ken. And yes, thank you so much for that. I'm glad you're enjoying the Punisher comic. We're working hard on it. The new one comes out Wednesday.
Wednesday.
#3. The Marvel Knights
Q3.
Punisher comes out well. And yeah, Doug, I know you well. You have like a little skateboard that you can skate on your finger with, right? I don't know what they put in cereal now for toys. Do they do that anymore?
I don't think they do. Now it's just on the back of the cardboard. It'll be like a puzzle or a, it's just they don't do it anymore.
I hated when they did like cut the cardboard out and make a mask. I was like, really? I'm like, really? Like you couldn't put one in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially I hated when they took bubble gum out of the cards when you bought cards.
Yeah.
They had gum. I love that gum. Granted, if it was old, it would shatter like glass.
Oh, it would just crumble. You could cut yourself.
Right, but I did love that they had gum in that when they ended the gum in cards. It definitely, I was not crazy about it. Let's see.
Once in a while on like TikTok, I'll see someone opening up old Topps cards from like the 70s and 80s, and the gum is still in there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, would you eat the gum?
No, I mean, I'll be honest, it's probably okay for you.
I'm thinking post-apocalypse, you just lick it. Like you just like lick it, right? Like,
at that point, there's no rules, right? If you're hungry, you're going after whatever you can get your hands on.
There are rules because if your teeth start falling out, right, and you're not a dentist, think about it, right? Think about
That's true.
it.
Yeah.
So you can have a cavity that could just kill you, right?
So then Tommy Wolf is in the corner with pliers trying to rip his rotten tooth out because he hasn't seen a dentist in a year.
Or he just does it and he ties it to the door and he slams the door and the door falls off the hinges, right? It's like the whole because I think why people up until was it like 1700 something, people only lived to like 35 or 40, right? Because I think it would go back to that a little bit because I think you get like you step on a nail and you get infected, and if you don't have something, that's you're dead.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm guessing if the apocalypse, like the more interesting one would be you wake up one day and you're the only person left in the world, but everything's still going. So you would see power plants blow up eventually. You'd have to like your full-time job would be letting dogs or cats out of the house, right? You'd be like running through neighborhoods, opening every door and letting the door and hoping they don't attack you. But by the end of the day, there'd be 100 dogs and cats following you because you're the only human being. So there's a lot going on.
And he's looking for Superman 1 because he knows that it's sold for $9.2 million. So you just never know. So I got to go find that.
No, he would literally go in a house and there's no toilet paper. And they have a copy of Superman 1. He's like, who cares at this point?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's so much to this. I think it would be a good series, a Netflix series, The Worst Survivor. I would watch a show called The Worst Survivor.
I would. 100% would.
If it was a Netflix show, though, it'd be a guy who's maybe 24 and handsome, and then he would find the one girl who's hot.
And they would repopulate the whole earth and everything would be fine.
Maybe they wouldn't. Maybe he wouldn't know how to deliver the baby, though.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
If he can't milk a cow, I don't think he's delivering a baby.
That is the quote of the day. Put that on your T-shirt. If you can't milk a cow, how are you going to deliver a baby? Is probably that might be the other title. Like if I was James Tynion or something, I would do the whole.
Oh yeah,
can't milk a cow. Instead of
or it could be one of the arcs, and it could be like 3 issues.
Right. If you can't milk a cow, how the hell are you going to deliver a baby? There you go. I love. I learned that I should definitely check on plumbing before attempting milk a cow. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
That's
good
that.
guess.
Yeah. Don't milk a bull unless you're gonna marry it. All right, I gotta go.
Jimmy, thank you so much. Appreciate
Tommy,
you.
let's
And
talk soon. Let's talk in a couple of months when I have nothing in the stands.
all right, sounds good, Jimmy.
All
I
right.
appreciate you, man. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
everybody, for
Thank you,
coming out.
everybody in the chat. Appreciate you. Talk soon.
Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye bye.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.